In 1960s Los Angeles, a new business partner, Hades, and the new Italian cowboys find the real killer.
Somebody write this.
Hi, and welcome to Somebody Write This, where we use a random plot generator to give us an idea and then brainstorm how that could be a thing somebody might want to write. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Jenny. And here to help us with our brainstorming, our guest today is Quinn Que. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to have you join us. As we were getting you scheduled to come on the show, we asked you what you might be interested in talking about for the audience to get to know who you are. And you mentioned that one of your big things is how absolutely essential it is that in any project, the story comes first. So I'm going to kind of toss it out to you and let you, climb up on your soapbox and tell us, what does this mean to you? Why have you come to hold on to this so strongly? Tell us a little bit about what this means and where it comes from.
Okay, thank you. So, I am a writer. I'm still working on getting more stuff out there. For a long time, I've been plugging it out with unproduced screenplays and manuscripts that I would pitch to publishers. These days, I'm on the internet with drafts of what I've got going on. And I just think that the issue I find in the culture, in sort of the creative culture in the various industries, like in Hollywood, or even to some extent, not as much, because in publishing, obviously, it's just the prose is the prose, the story is the story. But I think that in like collaborative mediums where you've got scripts, sometimes the scripts can lose prominence versus other factors like certain high profile collaborators, if it's a movie, certain actors or a director. And it's unfortunate when you see a project where it's clear that other things were taking prominence before or over the actual story or the script. It's not to say that the story is everything or the writer is supreme. It's just to say that when you're putting something together and you think like, all right, so we're going to cast this person and we're going to attach this director, and then let's make sure we hire somebody to write this thing. It's like the writer comes,
Shouldn't
second,
be an afterthought.
third or last. Like what? So that's problematic. And what I found is the best projects do come from people who have a vision, who have a love of the subject matter, of the material. Again, whether it's an adaptation or whether it's an original idea. So, for example, some of the greatest stuff that exists in terms of writing has been stuff that the person involved actually cared about. A great example, again, in Hollywood is like Craig Mazin, I think I'm pronouncing that right. He's written a number of movies. He's been a kind of nominal teacher to various aspiring screenwriters on the internet. He does the Script Notes podcast with his frequent collaborator. And for a long time, he had a good reputation for turning in good work and being reliable, but he was making scary movie sequels and just not the best stuff, quote unquote, certainly in terms of critical reception. But then he went into television. He did Chernobyl. He co-created The Last of Us. He's worked on Mythic Quest with Rob McElhenney.
Mythic Quest.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
I do too. With Rob McElhenney and Megan Gans, among others. And it's clearly, from my perspective anyway, this is someone who was kind of plugging away, doing the kind of stuff that he needed to make money and doing it well. He knows how to write a script. He will wax on that for days. But then when you actually give him the chance to write stuff that he likes and that he cares about, you can see that real artistry come through. And I think that we should be trying to focus in on that first and foremost. Mm-hmm. I'm in a Bukowski phase right now where I'm reading more of his stuff. And that's a singular voice. It's not like no one else could write autofiction and have it be compelling. It's just that no one else could write his stories about his characters and, his life in that way and care in that way and make it compelling. So we need to have more of that, I think, in the arts, let's say, because if we don't, we're going to end up with more kind of paint by numbers media, that's not really gonna inspire. So that's my my spiel.
No, that's a great intro, and now we get to delve into it. Yeah, no, I think that's really fascinating because it is true that, like, especially in I'm both a movie nerd and a theater nerd, and there's definitely different emphasis in each of those arenas placed on the writing. Where in a theater is still in many ways still a playwright's arena more than anything else. But Hollywood, it is way more people. People can name way more directors or actors than they ever could writers. And even then, a lot of the writers that they'll name will be people who are directing their own stuff,
which is fine. I like writer directors. Yeah, but if you have a singular like screenwriter that doesn't direct, it's hard to get your name out there.
All right. Well, that was an awesome discussion. I hope people subscribe to our Patreon so that they can hear the rest of that, because the folks on our free feed only heard a little bit. So hopefully you can hear the rest of that, because it was a good talk. But in the meantime, let's move on to our brainstorming. So as a reminder, the plot that we're going with is in 1960s Los Angeles, a new business partner, Hades, and the new Italian cowboys find the real killer. My immediate first thing that I need to know is Hades the new business partner, or is Hades and the new business partner and the new Italian cowboys finding the killer? I want to know how many people there are here.
A fan of the Oxford comma, are we? All right. So I read it as Hades being the new business partner, but I guess you could go either way. But I mean, I think this story, this prompt, it's already a story in itself. It's the prompt, but it already feels like a story. This prompt is already pretty complicated as it is. I don't think we need to have too many characters. So I'm going to go with
the business partner.
Hades is the business partner, and he's teaming up with the cowboys to
Plus,
find.
It's cool to be going into business with the god of the underworld. Like that's very much a deal with the devil kind of story.
Yeah, exactly. So they're trying to find the real killer. Who's the real killer? And ironically, that also fits because Hades, it's kind of his job. He just deals with death. So
yeah,
that's true.
There's something interesting.
You might know.
Oh, he might have commissioned him. Yeah. So maybe he's working with them to but also kind of obscuring it along the way.
See, my first question is, what are the new Italian cowboys? Like, were there old Italian cowboys? Or is that a band name or a gang, or who are these people?
The heirs of the spaghetti westerns.
So I was going to say, it's fascinating to me that it's the new Italian cowboys in 1960s Los Angeles, when we are getting a fistful of dollars and Good, Bad, the Ugly. So the spaghetti westerns are making it big in 1960s Los Angeles. So that makes me then think that we've got a Purple Rose of Cairo situation where the characters are stepping off of the screen with Hades.
Maybe.
Was a murder committed in the movie theater and the Italian cowboys on screen saw it?
The man with no name has to help Hades figure it out. Maybe.
That's kind of a weird but kind of fun take on it.
Yeah. And
who is the real killer?
Yeah.
And who's the fake killer?
Who's the fake killer? Right.
Yeah, real killer implies there's a fake killer out there.
Who's
there's a law and order
accused
aspect
of killing whoever. Right.
We've gotten past the first stack. We found the dope suspect. It's not him. It's somebody else. So we gotta figure out who that somebody else is.
Right. The other option, if we don't want to go the weird fantasy route, but they could be not characters, but they could be actors who are playing these characters, who are meeting up on a movie lot, maybe in two different movies, one in a retelling of a Greek mythology, because, I think we had Jason and the Argonauts around that time, that kind of thing. And they go into business together to find that. The business is weird too. What?
Kind of like Hail Caesar?
Yeah. Where they're going to band together. But they have to do most of their solving on the lot. So they're always in costume.
So it's new Italian cowboys is starting to sound like a guild of some kind. All these guys have been in similar movies, so they get together and you wouldn't believe what they have lined up for me.
Yeah, no, it's like the studio system where you would, they would hire you in and then you'd be in 27 movies playing basically the same character actor part. So it's just this group of 5 actors who just all are typecast as Italian cowboys, and they're in they know each other super well. They're in every movie together.
Right.
And they're like, oh yeah, it's you again.
So then who's Hades? in this construction. So we've got like the Italian cowboy, like the Italian players, the go-to guys for spaghetti westerns. Who's Hades? Who's a recurring like bad guy or demonic figure?
I didn't know if it was somebody actually playing the god Hades in some other movie across the way, because a lot of those movies would be like the sets would be all within walking distance of each other. You could walk through the sets of different movies, and so maybe there's a Greek mythology movie filming like half a block down, and so maybe he was one of the Italian cowboys, and this is his breakout role. He got pulled out of the gang to play Hades in this other movie. And so there's a little bit of tension there because he's getting his big break and they're a little jealous.
See, I like that idea, except our prompt says a new business partner. If he broke out his Hades,
doesn't mean he needs to be a new partner to them. Maybe he's starting a business.
Partner.
Or maybe it's a partner for a new business.
A new player in the studio system?
Yeah.
Another thought I had was, what if Hades is like the nickname of a new studio exec who...
Yeah.
I can see that.
They're like, this guy is ridiculous. He's tough. We all hate him. We call him Hades.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes, that makes sense. And ironically, even if he's a bad guy, maybe one of the sort of twists of the story is that a studio executive is actually trying to do something good for a change and help solve a murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he wouldn't be against solving a murder on his lot, especially if the accused is somebody like important to the studio.
Oh, yeah.
Or,
there you go.
You know what I'm saying?
Like he lost
or
one
like
of
a
his
family
stars
member or something.
Yeah.
Right. Like Clint is our, first act patsy. Like, I think it's got to be Clint. It was his girlfriend or some such. And then because he got around. And then like, no, it's not Clint. It's got to be somebody else. And then the Italian cowboys get in there, and Hades gets in there. Like, we got to find. It's got to be somebody else. The evidence doesn't support it. Plus, we like the guy.
Yeah. Either somebody is set up as the fake person. They're trying to rescue him. Either for the cowboys, maybe to save the person, and Hades maybe to save the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe.
Because while you can get some good publicity from our actors are accused of murder, that only goes so far.
Yeah. Especially in the 1960s.
Yeah.
And like maybe at first Hades doesn't even respect the new Italian cowboys, but they're like, look, if you don't help us, we all walk. Yeah, or something.
Right. Pseudo union.
Like I could absolutely see it being the kind of thing where like they are this group of Italian cowboys. They play the same characters, say almost the same lines in every movie, have almost the same costumes, and like nobody pays attention to them anymore. They're just like background characters, and so they see and hear things that maybe people like wouldn't even register because they're familiar enough that they don't register as like new people.
Right.
But minor enough that they don't register as important people.
There you go.
Right. And they're like almost has-beens.
Yeah.
Not yet, but it's getting old. Right.
Okay. I can see it.
That's interesting.
I like it.
Okay, I'm going to pause this real quickly because I think we have a good skeleton to this, and I'm going to generate a title which may ruin the world. Let's see. Okay, so I can't figure out the grammar for this one. My generator sometimes tosses out things. It's kind of a Mad Lib style. So let me. Okay, hold on.
Pop it up and let's
put where I
discuss it.
think the grammar should be. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to put this out. This is what I have so far. The Hard Luck Reverend Mr. Rogers.
Yes.
Which is a wild title.
It is.
If we decide we need to take out one of those person titles, either Reverend or Mr. we can.
I don't know. Well, he was a reverend. He was a pastor.
Oh, the actual Mr. Rogers?
Was he?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
He was. When did that start?
Fred Rogers. I think that was probably
1968.
Okay. So it's technically...
He could have been around. Maybe he's like shopping his stuff around.
Right, exactly. He was trying to get funding.
Yeah. Is this a weird parallel alternate universe where he is the one who gets killed, or he is
No.
or he is the one who gets
accused?
He's the accused.
He's the accused. That's why hard luck.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
Interesting. So what is he doing on that set? Is he trying to?
So, I mean, he's probably taking a general meeting, trying to get funding. And then he somehow, is in the wrong place, the wrong time, steps in some blood. I don't know.
Yeah.
And,
And like some people are like, this guy is too good. He's hiding something.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I was just listening to another podcast. They were just talking about that this morning. It's like, oh man, he's too nice. He's too nice. I can't trust him.
Right.
Yeah.
The sweaters and his puppets.
I like the idea of this being a weird 1960s alternate universe where Mr. Rogers and Clint Eastwood are like you could kill one of them off.
Right.
Gosh.
So I think I want to talk a little bit more about this murder. Like initially I was thinking, I was torn between like, does this murder happen? Like, they come on set one day and one of their, is it a murder of one of the stars of the movie, like something big? Or is it just a random person who they just find the body? Does it, at one point I was running, is this like an, like the Alec Baldwin thing where somebody gets shot during a stunt?
Real bullets in the prop gun.
Yeah. And so they think it's, I don't know why Mr. Rogers would have been, maybe he was like seen, maybe he was seen like looking at the gun, like he was using the gun beforehand. And they were like, oh, he must have swapped them out or something.
That apocryphal, folk military experience.
Yeah.
Fun fact: he was not a Marine with X number of confirmed kills. That's internet lore. It's not real lore.
That's a different story.
Yeah.
But in our story, it could be real.
Yeah, it could be. It's true. Creative license.
I have to say, there is a part of me that wants to. Speaking of retconning, that wants to take all the characters from the land of make believe from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and like make them like that he based those stories on this experience somehow.
Oh yeah. Went to Hollywood, got accused of murder, and
he was like, "Oh, make a children's show about this."
Yeah, there you go. It's
now I'm
therapy.
Picturing this little crowd of Italian cowboy puppets leaning over the wall. How you doing, Mr. Owl?
Right.
Ironic. I could see that. I could definitely see spaghetti westerns influencing the land of make believe.
So if he's the title, then he has to be a more central part of the story.
Well, I was going to say another possibility, if we want to go that route, is Mr. Rogers the actual name of the new guy, Hades.
Hades is Mr. Rogers?
His name is Mr. Rogers.
I see what you're saying. So it's a different Mr. Rogers, just happens to be his name. Another ordained reverend named Rogers, who happens to be...
I mean, Rogers is a fairly common last name, so I suppose it could be.
Sure.
Yeah,
and if he's a former reverend,
kind of like
it's like extra ironic of him being named Hades. They're like, not a reverend anymore. I don't know.
I don't know if I want them to be the same person, but I like the idea of Hades and Mr. Rogers being close. Like maybe he was Hades' minister. And like and he's like his spiritual counsel during this difficult filming.
That would be interesting.
He's on set, like trying to talk him through. Maybe Hades is having some ethical dilemmas about like, do I give these Italian cowboys the rights that they're asking for in the production, or do I try to make more money?
Tie things together. Having Mr. Rogers as like the angel on Hades' shoulder, which is the best image in my head ever.
Okay, I see it. I see it.
The Disney Hades with the little sweatered Mr. Rogers on his shoulder.
Well, and then we could get into an interesting thing. Like we joked at first about like Hades as the god of death, knowing who did it and like keeping the Italian cowboys from finding out. But like there could be something really interesting where he maybe he didn't commit the murder, but he knows who did, and he does pin it on Mr. Rogers because maybe he, Mr. Rogers he knows he's going to be doing something like illegal, unethical. And he's like, you can't do this. If you do this, I'm going to tell people, I'm going to report you. And he's like, no. And so he gets him accused of murder. And so then, but he's working alongside the Italian cowboys because he knows that they are like, that they see things, that they know things. They pick up on a clue early on, and he's like, here, let's figure this out together, because I also definitely don't think that he did it.
So he's kind of like leading them, but also misleading them at the same time. It's like the big twist is that he was leading them down the wrong path, or maybe.
And I love
like he's buying time for something.
Well, and he's absolutely like working with them on their side, trying to each get them their own breakout roles, because if you can split them up, they can't pool their ideas together anymore. And if they just keep working the way that they are, they're absolutely going to figure it out because they are smart. They talk together all the time.
So he's subverting the investigation, so to speak. While pretending to be their friend. He's trying to be everybody's friend, but in reality, he's only out for himself.
Exactly.
Okay.
I really like that. I think that's fun.
That could work.
There's so many different ways this could go. I love it.
And then Mr. Rogers is just in jail waiting for his investigation.
Right. This might be a little heavy-handed. I'm just thinking, like, what if the victim was Persephone of a sort, like Hades' girlfriend or wife or something, and the other aspect is like, you would think he would have every reason to want the real person, found and convicted, but maybe there's something else going on.
Yeah,
like, there's another reason why he doesn't.
There's a close connection there. Yeah, and then it could be that he was the one who murdered her, but it could also be that he just knows who did it. Like he was there when it happened and didn't want it to come out, and saw an opportunity to get rid of Reverend Mr. Rogers. Interesting. And then I think you could have a lot of fun with like the different personalities of the Italian cowboys.
Oh, for sure. You've got your lucky seven right there. You know, you got your seven dwarfs. Fill out the roster. You know,
exactly.
Everybody's got their own little thing. You've got the hard scrabble leader type. You've got the funny guy. You've got the kind of smart guy. Yeah, there's all kinds of room for archetypal work in that.
I think one of them at the end definitely leaves Hollywood and goes to seminary, inspired by Mr. Rogers.
Ooh, yes.
Of course.
Like, that's got to happen. Okay, well, we are right about at time. Is there anything essential that we have not kind of played with on this? Because I like the roots of this. I like the skeleton that we have with this story.
I mean, we haven't locked in on who the killer is, or necessarily even who the victim is per se, but we've definitely hinted at possibilities. So I think we've touched on most of it.
Yeah. I think at this point we can toss it out to our listeners and say, hey, if you are inspired by this, we would love for you to write something up or work on something and let us know. We would love to be able to share your ideas with our listeners. We have gone as far as we are going to go for this. And so if you are inspired, take this idea and run with it.
As Randy Mulligan would say, get in the comments.
Exactly. Get in the comments. Exactly. All right. Well, with that, we are going to go ahead and jump into our segment where we're going to recommend a story that we think our listeners should check out. I am going to be daring and recommend something I'm only halfway through, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm currently reading Biography of X by Catherine Lacey, which came out last year. And it came to mind because it is sort of this partial alternate universe. It's most of it is recognizable from our actual life, but it's set in a time where it's a fictional biography of someone from the widow's point of view, where she's trying to kind of her wife was a mysterious artist who had all kinds of different personas, and the wife is trying to figure out more about her after she died. But it's also set in this alternate universe where, like, in the 1940s, the southern United States separated from the rest of the US and like built a wall around it and made like an authoritarian theocracy, and kind of how that has shaped the world and how that has shaped the country, and how and now at this point in the story, like 40 or 50 years later, or I guess, like 50 years later, the southern states are being kind of reintegrated. And it's kind of looking at how that is affecting people on in all parts of the country. And so like it's funny because it's, I'd say 70% just about this other person, this mysterious artist and her personalities. And then it's like 30% just playing around with this world that has just these one or two large differences and kind of seeing the ripple effects of how that affects the individual people and the art scene, reimagining the art scene of the 70s in this world. So I'm about halfway through it. I am thoroughly enjoying it, unless it goes like absolutely downhill. I absolutely will recommend it, and I can't imagine that that's going to happen. So I go ahead and pick up Biography of X by Catherine Lacey. It's really fascinating. All right, Jenny, you get to recommend something for this week. What would you like to share?
Well, having 7 Italian cowboys reminded me, I finally got around to watching the classic Western, The Magnificent Seven.
There we go.
And I haven't seen the remake yet because I wanted to watch the original first. And it's one of those movies that you watch and you're like, okay, yeah, that's a classic for a reason. It's about these 7 cowboys who they get gathered together to help this little town that's being abused by some bad guys. You know, they come and take all their, it's a Bug's Life.
And Bug's Life is based on this. Yeah.
Is it really?
So they're both based on Seven Samurai.
Oh, okay. See, now I have to go back to the
So you should,
Samurai.
If you haven't seen it, you should watch Seven Samurai. It's very good. Magnificent Seven and Bug's Life are both loosely based on Seven Samurai.
Kurosawa.
Cool.
Get some good stuff.
Yes. Anyway, the great cast. It's Steve McQueen, Yul Brynner, just tons of faces and names that you'd know from those movies around the time. Well written, well acted. You just like really get involved with these scruffy, almost ex-cowboys' lives and the way they perceive the world and what they have in common. And I really enjoyed watching it. So go give it a watch. And then along with me, go watch The Seven Samurai. I got to find that somewhere.
Yes. Watch them both. They're
then I'll watch
both
the
good,
new remake.
both different, but they're both good. And then A Bug's Life if you want.
Right.
All right, Quinn, you get to recommend something for our listeners as well. What would you like to recommend?
Well, I am in a bit of a Bukowski kick, as I think I mentioned earlier. So I would say Factotum, which really speaks to me, just looking at the wreckage of my various day jobs and, non-creative professional career, or let's say less creative, because I tried not to be too unfair or negative toward day jobs. I think, all work has value and merit. It's, we do what we do. And we hope that someday we will be able to become the person that we imagine ourselves to be in our own heads, even if like day to day we're, working at the post office. Also, side note, it's not really a trilogy of sorts, but Post Office, Factotum, and Women are 3 books by Bukowski, featuring his autofic alter ego, Henry Hank Chinaski. And Factotum is set before Post Office, but it was released after. And it's basically about the Chinaski character working various jobs, as the title would imply, and kind of drinking and smoking and cavorting with women and just figuring out what he is and what he's doing. Post Office is where he's found a gig, but it's not really like his calling, but it's at least stable. And Women is actually about him after finding some success as a writer and all the implications there. So it's interesting. I'd recommend all 3, but I'd say Factotum the most.
Awesome. Well, before we go, we want to make sure you have a chance to plug anything you would like to plug. So your projects, where we can find your work, social media, anything you want to share with our listeners where they can find more of you.
All right. So I am Quinn Que, also known as Edokwin, or I won't pronounce it the other way because
I'll put that in the show notes so people know how to spell that.
Yeah, exactly. Edokwin on all platforms. I'm on basically everything except for TikTok. And I primarily use Twitter. I'm not calling it X.
Nobody's calling it X.
Yeah. I'm primarily using Twitter. I have a substack. It's called the Edokwin Editorial. I have a Patreon that I'm trying to build out. I'm really just a writer and a thinker trying to engage with the world, as lofty or high-minded as that might sound, with my ideas. And I'd always love, like you said, get in the comments. I'd always love to engage with people. So please feel free to @ me, talk to me, even if it's just to tell me like, I don't understand what you're talking about, because I'm happy to have the dialogue.
Yeah, awesome. Quinn, thank you so much for joining us. This turned into a really fascinating little story that I would totally watch or listen to or whatever medium it's in. All right, folks, that is our episode. As a reminder, you can find us every other Thursday, wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. And you can join our Patreon for bonus material. Today, we want to especially thank our patron, Josh, for supporting us.
Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at WriteThisPod or on Facebook /SomebodyWriteThis. And if you've been inspired by this episode and have questions or comments, or if you know who the real killer is, email us at somebodywritethis@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
We'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks, and we'll see you then.
And as they say, a good cock will crow on any dung heap.